Dual rack is a special setup mode for two IDR mix racks. It is to expand the number of input channels from 64 to 128. Any two mix racks from the IDR family can be combined this way. The resulting number of physical inputs available depending on the chosen models. Any format of iLive interface option can be used, but if the slave mix rack is one of the fixed format range, then the link has to be ACE, as port A is fixed ACE in these units. An advantage of using ACE is that the AH net control network can be bridged over the ACE Cat5 cable. The two mix racks must have unique IP addresses and unit names. Make sure both addresses and names have been set before they are connected together. Set these in the network settings page of the utility menu, or use the network menu in editor. For example, set the slave unit to 192.168.1.4 and its name to IDR slave. Connect the master port B ACE card link 1 to slave port A ACE using a Cat5 cable, and bridge a network socket on the master mix rack to its port B control network socket. If a surface is used, connect this to master port A ACE. Go to Utility, Network, Dual Mix Rack Setup and touch Add Slave. Highlight a mix rack in the list and touch Inspect. The system is inspected for suitability. Details of the mix rack are displayed. Check that the firmware is compatible, touch Apply to add the mix rack as a slave. The mix rack reboots and resets its parameters. A master and slave status is created with the slave mix rack configured to have its same mix bus architecture as the master. A large system of 128 input channels is now established, and these can be patched to physical input sockets using the iLive Surface or Editor interface. Channels 1 to 64 are sourced from the master mix rack or surface socket, while channels 65 to 128 are sourced from the slave mix rack XLR inputs or port B card if fitted. Each mix rack processes its own channels, and the Mixmaster mix rack processes the 32 buses as well as the 8 FX engines. For this reason, the effects may be inserted only on channels 1 to 64. Outputs on the master mix rack and surface can be assigned directly from the Outputs menu. To benefit from alternative output locations offered by the slave mix rack, send the signal via the master port B link to the slave mix rack. Then select the slave rack from the drop-down menu. Touch an output socket on the slave mix rack and select the inputs coming into port A from the master, ACE in this example. Scenes and show files are saved with the data from both master and slave mix rack settings and can be recalled onto another dual rack setup in the future. If the show is recalled into a single mix rack system, then only the settings from the master rack will be used. If this is subsequently overwritten from a single mix rack system, then the original slave rack data will be lost. The master and slave status of the mix racks are retained if they are separated. The master would try connecting to the known slave unit. If not available, then it would work as a single system. The slave would remain in slave status and should be connected to and deselected by another mix rack before it can be used as a single system again.